Gather round, my brethren of the auditory arena, for we are about to dissect a scandalous commentary, the likes of which sends reverberations through the very foundation of modern comedy podcasts.
Wait until the special finally drops. I'm just excited for people to see it in the reaction. And I'm thinking about the press I'm going to be doing. I'm about to start talking to my publicist. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'll be dead serious here. I don't want to do the podcast rounds. I'm disgusted with the state of comedy and podcasting. And I'm going to talk to this guy and be like, I don't want to go on the same 5 shows that everyone goes on. If I could not do any podcasts to promote this special.
Why?
Because I'm sick of it. It feels really lame. I think it's played out. And it's predictable that I just don't want to. And the things I talk about in the special, I'm not looking forward to going on and basically talking to the people that I'm on to promote my special. So we'll see. But I don't love. Our podcast is different, but I don't love.
What about you? Do have friends that do podcasts, and they don't need to dive into your topics from the show. You could just have your hour hang with.
We'll see.
With Whitney.
We'll see. I think I think Jason Whitlock has already said he'd have me on. Tucker, I can get on his X show. Ben Shapiro, I'd love to go on there. I don't know. And the one thing, I wanted to talk to you about is
I might literally have an in for that.
No, that would be great.
I might literally.
Netflix has,
The brazen, the biting, the brilliant Anthony Jeselnik, comedian of cold-hearted punchlines and sharp-edged wit, has emerged from the shadows to deliver an indictment of epic proportions against the podcasting empire itself. And who, pray tell, does he cast his verbal javelins at? None other than the titan of alternative media, the king of broscience banter and conspiracy-laden discourses, Joe Rogan. What we have here, dear listeners, is nothing short of a comedic coup d'etat. Now, let us not pretend this declaration is mere hyperbole, for Jeselnik is not a man of half measures. His critique is not just a shot across the bow, it is a full-scale bombardment aimed squarely at the bloated, formulaic state of comedy podcasting today. And who is at the helm of this sinking ship? Rogan, of course, with his 3-hour, rambling diatribes, his legions of sycophantic imitators, and his cavalcade of, comedians parroting the same tired lines. Jeselnik's disgust is palpable, as though the very air around him is suffocating under the weight of 1,000 podcasts all trying to replicate Rogan's success without any of the originality. And who can blame him? The podcasting world has become a factory of predictability. Every comedian with a microphone and a Wi-Fi connection has jumped onto the bandwagon, churning out episodes filled with the same recycled jokes, the same predictable hot takes, and the same rotating roster of guests from Rogan's Rolodex. Jeselnik, in his infinite sardonic wisdom, sees through this charade and calls it out for what it is, lame star. The very art of comedy podcasting, once a fertile ground for creativity and genuine conversation, has devolved into a mind-numbing echo chamber where nothing new is said and no boundaries are pushed. Oh, but do not mistake Jeselnik's criticism as merely a personal vendetta against Rogan himself. No, Jeselnik's ire is much more systemic, aimed at the entire culture that has sprung up around Rogan's podcasting empire. You see, Rogan didn't just create a successful show, he created an entire genre, and in doing so, he birthed a legion of imitators who have diluted the once potent cocktail of comedy and conversation into a lukewarm glass of mediocrity. It is not Rogan, per se, that Jeselnik abhors, it is the formula that Rogan has popularized, a formula that has now been mimicked into oblivion. Jeselnik, a comedian known for his meticulously crafted jokes and his refusal to pander, finds himself suffocated by this environment. He's not interested in regurgitating the same tired riffs on conspiracy theories or indulging in aimless 3-hour conversations about elk hunting or the latest dietary craze. No, Jeselnik craves something more, something that cuts through the noise like one of his devastating punchlines. And herein lies the crux of his complaint. The Roganization of comedy podcasts has stripped the genre of its edge, its unpredictability, its danger. It has made comedy safe, sanitized, and worst of all, boring. But let us dig deeper into this indictment, for Jeselnik is not merely criticizing the state of podcasting, he is making a statement about the very nature of comedy itself. For Jeselnik, comedy is an art form that thrives on discomfort, on pushing boundaries and making the audience squirm in their seats before erupting into laughter. Rogan, with his brocentric vibe and mainstream appeal, has made comedy * comfortable star. He's turned it into a fireside chat, where ideas are massaged rather than challenged, where guests are coddled rather than confronted. In Rogan's world, the edges have been smoothed out, and the danger that once made comedy podcasts exciting has been dulled into oblivion. And so, Jeselnik, ever the iconoclast, refuses to play along. He's not interested in going on the same podcasts, having the same conversations, promoting his specials in the same predictable way. Why? Because it's stale. It's beneath him. Jeselnik is a man who thrives on breaking molds, on saying the uncivil, on turning convention on its head. To subject himself to the drudgery of the podcast circuit, especially the Rogan-influenced podcast circuit, would be to betray the very essence of his comedy. But here's where Jeselnik's critique takes on an almost tragic tone. For in his rejection of the podcasting machine, Jeselnik is also acknowledging the stranglehold that it has on the industry. It is nearly impossible to release a comedy special today without doing the podcast rounds, without sitting through hour after hour of the same inane conversations, the same banal questions. And Jeselnik, who prides himself on originality, finds himself trapped in a system that rewards conformity. His refusal to participate is not just a critique, it's an act of rebellion against an industry that has lost its way. And yet, despite his disgust, Jeselnik is no fool. He knows that to promote his special, he will likely have to engage with this machine in some capacity. But he will do so reluctantly, with a smirk on his face and disdain in his heart. He will play the game, but he will never be a part of it. For Jeselnik, the podcasting world may be an unavoidable reality, but it will never define him. In conclusion, Anthony Jeselnik's scathing critique of Joe Rogan and the state of comedy podcasts is not just a personal grievance, it is a manifesto for a better, more dangerous comedy landscape. Jeselnik longs for a return to a time when comedy podcasts were unpredictable, when conversations were sharp, and when the art form still had its bite. He refuses to conform to the mediocrity that has taken hold, and in doing so, he stands as a beacon for those who still believe that comedy should challenge, not comfort. The question now is, will the rest of the comedy world take notice, or will they continue to follow Rogan down the path of comfortable, forgettable content? Only time will tell.